There was a little boy, about 15 years old, that was there, and the little boy stood up with a pistol on the side. Bitch, you ain't going nowhere. Really? Yeah, hell. You don't know who you're talking to. He hit me with that pistol. Bitch, take it off. And from there, I just prayed. I want to go home. Please, God, just let me go home. When he was done, I was just stuck, just sitting there looking like.
I was 17 years old. I had gone on a camping trip with some friends. One of them was my best friend. And I woke up at 2 or 3 in the morning, I really don't know, to find that he had taken my clothes off of me and was having sex with me. It hurt. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how long he had been inside of me or how I should react, what I should do. So I went with it. I decided that it was easier to give him what he wanted in that moment than to fight back. I developed a pretty heavy drug addiction in the years that followed because I thought it was my fault. I shouldn't have been there. I shouldn't have been drinking. I shouldn't have trusted him. I put it all on myself.
By the time I had realized what was happening, I probably arrived at this party around 7 p.m. and completely have no knowledge of the party from probably 7:30 or 8 p.m. all the way until maybe 11 or 12 o'clock. I knew then that somebody had definitely put something in my drink. And at 17, you're naive. You don't really, you're just going there to have a good time. That's all you think of.
One night when he was babysitting me, he told me to come into his room, and he just had on a pair of jeans and no shirt. And he lay down on the floor and undid his pants and pulled them down, and he told me to suck on his penis. Told him I didn't want to do it, and he yelled at me and made me do it. 7-year-old me is looking at that and looking at the look on his face and just not understanding, just totally humiliated and in fear. And then he told me to go into the bathroom and get him a wet washcloth so that he could clean himself up. That was the first time.
He had been in my apartment several times before. I didn't realize that until later, of course. But on November 8th, 2014, when I was fast asleep, he pushed through the unlocked front window. That night, I was both exhausted and exhilarated because my husband and I had recently ended our marriage. I had been channeling all of that energy and emotion into painting, and one of those paintings was drying on the living room floor in front of the window that he would walk in and walk through. I awoke to a loud pop in the dark that night and saw a man lying in my floor. During the assault, he told me he had been watching me for a long time and that I had not been paying attention, and that if I called the police, he would know it. I was caught in a terrifying nightmare, but I had survived it. I called the police, but in the days and weeks and months that followed, even after my attacker was caught and sentenced to 8 years in prison, I didn't feel really safe. I found myself jumping at every loud noise, fearing and hating every man who reminded me of him, always worried that I was being watched. The post-traumatic stress was crippling, and I felt that my soul was shutting down.
5 years prior to her sexual assault, Karen began painting purely as a personal expression. Since that time, she's turned a traumatic experience into one of creation and healing through art. Today, Karen's vision is to break down the barriers of fear associated with speaking about physical and sexual abuse. And to realize that vision, Karen has conceived a life-changing interactive exhibit called Soul Survivor.
I had begun to embrace early on in this experience that this sexual assault was to be a catalyst in my life. I felt blessed to have escaped with my life, and I refused to hide from what had happened. As an expressive artist, I knew that sharing my experience was the first step to healing for me. But just as quickly as my first assault was over, I learned what second assault is.
Second assault is a description of women that continue to experience a sense of fear, a sense of shame, a sense of embarrassment as a result of being raped or sexually assaulted. And what this is it's essentially a re-victimization of the assault itself. And when individuals aren't willing to talk about it openly, what it creates is a sense of repression again of the assault itself. And as a result, women typically will behave very withdrawn, they'll be very isolated, they'll get very quiet, and emotionally they will shut down. And it's extremely harmful to attempt to function with those types of emotions on a day-to-day basis. I think the other dynamic that's important to understand here are the family members or friends and their perspective and their experience with women who have been sexually assaulted and that experience of second assault. More often than not, they typically feel disconnected and abandoned in their relationship with that person. And there's a great deal of blame that they may feel as a result of something they may have done to create some type of disconnect in that relationship. And the fact of the matter is it's a byproduct of not willing to talk about the assault itself.
Soul Survivor is an interactive exhibit that encourages audiences to confront and move past their own emotional pain by taking that first courageous step of telling their own story with their whole heart. This kind of breakthrough doesn't happen easily, which is why art and the connection that guests are able to make with that art are so important. The exhibit is arranged in a gallery-style display of paintings that illustrate the story of Karen's life along her transformative journey. The highlight of the exhibit is the space of new beginnings, where visitors are encouraged to enter a safe space confidentially and to record or write anonymously their unspoken fears. The anonymous recordings and comments are added to the exhibit in real time so that everyone within the space knows that there is someone else who shares their hidden shame, fear, or pain. During the audience engagement portion of the program, attendees are encouraged to embrace their reality, and those who are ready to take a courageous next step can share, in a supportive setting, the truth that, until that moment, they've been unable to speak.
When we are willing to make this an open discussion, openly talk about being sexually assaulted, that is the process that individuals and women can become whole again. And because of this project, the Soul Survival Project, and the display through the artwork that is so powerful for these women to work through, those are means by which they can become whole again.
It is uncomfortable to hear. It's uncomfortable to tell. It was uncomfortable that it happened. But I know it wasn't my fault. I choose to share my story because I know that it is powerful to hear.
From everything that happened to me, I definitely learned you cannot trust everyone. Definitely know your surroundings, so you take a lot of learning experience from it. I'm still learning today, but I'm stronger than I was before.
At that tender age of 7, having taken control over my situation really did help me to take the first step to regain control of my life. I choose to speak my truth because I choose to gain control of my life.
I choose to embrace my reality. I am a soul survivor.
Sean McNiff, an expert in arts therapy, once wrote that creation and healing are the same energy. They transform pain rather than being destroyed by it. Art heals by accepting the pain and doing something with it. I like that because it reminds me that although I can never change what happened to me, I can grow from it, and through my art, I can offer a welcome refreshment for souls that have died after their long journey back to the land of the living.